I've been repping my city since a little guy. Campaigning in the hall, shot in Lincoln High. When it's all said and done, I hope they raise my number.
CultureCon.
Because the nobles held you down for like 7 summers. I put it down for
Now, some of you are probably thinking, did he really just come out to his own music? And yes, I did. Because what do you think I made it for? Let's go, right? Okay, listen, we're here. We're going to have a great time today. We're going to talk about vision and versions, some things that go into that. This is where we're going to get into some work. So I'm going to be talking about some things, but you're going to be doing some work at your tables. You know, in all the work that we do, the beautiful part about it is we say things, we do things, and then we go get to be with real people doing real stuff. For me, I'm a person, and anyone that knows me knows this, like, you got to seatbelt me to my chair in my office. I got to be out in the streets. I got to be with the people. And the benefit of that is that we get to see these trends and we get to see these consistencies in all the different organizations that we work with. And through that, we see many, many, many opportunities. And the biggest opportunity that we've been seeing is vision, ideation, the ability to come together and formulate ideas that people can have buy-in on. What makes it challenging is that many times we come with our own perceptions, our own motives, our own styles, and a lot of times we just try to fit them all into the same thing versus coming together and developing those things. See, when we talk about the idea of vision, vision for us are dreams that you plan on making a reality. You see, people wake up from dreams, but your visions, they stay with you. They're with you all the time. They're consistent, but the world doesn't stay consistent. You don't stay consistent. You change, you evolve. The things that you care about starts to change and evolve. The environment that you're in changes and evolves. And because of that, the elements, the variables that go into your vision are naturally going to change with them. So the question becomes, can you roll the punches? Can you grow? Some people will say evolve, but evolution is slow change. It's forced change. It's change that you have to do. What we always say is, do you have the ability to change with the speed of intention? Some of you, your habits, the things that challenge you, your frustrations, your anxieties, your hang-ups, some of those things might have been 30, 40, 50 years in the making. You might have been developed them over a long period of time, and you say, how long is it going to take me to adjust these things, to better these things? Is it going to take 30, 40 years? No, not when you move at the speed of intention. And so that's what we're going to get into today, some of those different elements and how we could come together and be more effective. Because in this particular instance, we got to go back to zero. Like I said, a lot of times we just bring people together in a room and we hope it works out. But we want to move with the speed of intention, so we have to be thoughtful about how we develop the mindsets that support the environments that we want. That we can't just ask people to come to a place and hopefully magically they do what we need them to do. What we're talking about is developing the real, true skill set. So let's get into that part. And if you've ever been to a Think 3D situation, you'll know that one of the biggest things for us is, in fact, what it is that we see, our vision. And so when we talk about the idea of vision, it is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. To think about or plan. If you plan the future, how can you plan the future? Right? How can you plan the future? Through imagination and wisdom. Let's break those things down. So when we talk about imagination, the faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses. Not present to the senses. Can't touch it, can't feel it, it's not in front of you. Where is it at? You have to be able to see it even though it's not there. And that's hard for people to do because, you know, most people only believe it if they can see it. Which is why it's so important that we develop the skill to be able to see things that aren't there. All we have is today, but we want to set up today for us to be successful to tomorrow. So what does tomorrow look like? We have to be able to vision that. We have to be able to see that. And to do that, we have to lean on wisdom. Wisdom is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment, the quality of being wise. And so sometimes when you ask people to dream about a thing, or better yet, vision a thing, they have a hard time because they don't know what they should be thinking about. And the reality of it is what you have to lean on is your experiences, what you've gone through, the things that you have seen yourself. We always ask people, where have you seen it? A lot of times people are striving for this magical, mystical environment that just works out. And we say, where have you seen this? And they say, I've never seen it. And you'll never get there. That doesn't mean you've seen it in the physical. That doesn't mean that you've been to a place that was perfect, because there's no place that's perfect. It's all journey. There is no there. But have you seen it in your mind? Have you seen the behaviors that were necessary for us to get there? Have you seen the skill sets that are required for us to make that journey? Have you seen what it might take from you to contribute, to add your piece to the pie in order to make it what it needs to be? For many people, they don't think about that. They don't see beyond what their role is. They don't think past their chair. Now, this is something that is, not surprising, coming from a post-industrial revolution where we worked on assembly lines and you banged a widget into a what's-it. Wasn't that deep? You banged a widget into a what's-it and you slid it down. You didn't need to know about anything else in the business or how anything worked. In fact, somebody literally could grab somebody off of the street and buy lunch, train that person on your job, because all you do is bang the widget into the what's-it and slide it down. Well, we know that world doesn't exist anymore. Jobs are dynamic, multi-layered. It requires you to work with different departments. It requires you to work with vendors. It requires you to think about customers in a dynamic way, to engage them, people who touch the product and touch your customer. In that world, it's not as simple as just banging a widget into a what's-it and sliding it down. You have to think dynamically. And in a world where people want both autonomy and instruction, it makes it very difficult to find that sweet spot. And so that's why we want to develop that skill and teach people the confidence to be able to depend on their experience, to depend on their knowledge and their good judgment. Good judgment. And good judgment is thoughtful judgment. Good judgment is considerate judgment. Good judgment is when you think about not only yourself and what you get out of it, but the environment as a whole and the goal long term. Some people might refer to that as the big picture. And if you don't think of yourself as big, if you don't think about your future as big, it's hard to see how little old me can affect this big old vision. So part of what we have to do is change the mindset that supports that. And one of the ways that we do that is with wins. So again, if you've ever been to a Think 3D thing, you likely have gone through this. And we're about to do it right now. So here's what I'm going to have you do. At your tables, what I want you to do is I want you to talk to everyone at your tables. If you're not all on the same team, I want you to introduce yourselves. And what I would like for you to do is give a win that you have had personally, professionally, or both within the last 2 weeks. I'll even let you forecast into the next week. So if you're going to go camping with the kids on the weekend, then you can say that. But I want you to give a win that you have had personally, professionally, or both within the last 2 weeks. So we're going to give you a few minutes at your tables. I want you to talk through a win that you have had personally, professionally, or both within the last 2 weeks, and go. All right, let's bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, quickly, another thing you should know is that at a Think 3D situation, you will never have enough time and you will never leave satisfied. And that is by design. That is by design. If you ever leave anything like this with enough, they didn't give you enough. You should always have something that we're leaving with, okay? All right, I think we have some runners out in the crowd. Do we have some microphones? Because I want to hear some of these wins. So I want you to get a hand up in the air. I want somebody to share one of their wins. So let me get some folks out here. Share some of your wins. I heard some. Okay, we got one over here. And then we got one over here. So we'll go over here first. This gentleman right there, and then we'll go over here. Okay, you're going to get there first. So we're going to start with you.
With me?
Yes, yes, the one with the mic.
Hi,
There you go.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ariana, and I guess my win is, so this weekend I was at a city's council, and I got the vice chair, and I'm really excited for this opportunity and for this next year as we're doing our project.
Let's go. Give it up for her. All right, what do we got over here?
Hey, I'm Andrew with Market Beat, and this weekend we saved 158 puppies from being euthanized.
Whoa, hello. Hello. Very good, very good. Keep those hands up over there so we can find you. Who do we got over here?
What's up, everyone? Name's Tyler Blake. So win for me is I designed John Mayer's shoes that he's going to be running in for the 437 race. Well, not race, but, the run across South Dakota that's raising money. And, yeah, that's a win for me, so I'm excited about that.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get one more over here, and then we'll get one more over here. Somebody get a hand up over here. What do we got?
Hey, everybody. My name is Jay. I found out last week that I am the youngest person in my row. for my company.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right, we'll do this one right here.
My name is Haley. I had a garnishment happen a couple months ago, and I just did $17,000 of debt in the last 2 years paid off.
Let's go. All right, very good. Anybody that know what it's like to shake that off of you, woo, that's a good feeling. We are excited for you. First of all, what I want you to take note of is just what happened in the room. Even when we were talking at our tables, you heard spatters of applause throughout, people smiling, energy. And then when we got a chance to hear some people's wins, to get that excitement, could you feel what it did to the room? That's what winning does to a room. That's what it's like to be in a winning environment. It feels different. You know, not everybody operates in a winning environment. Some people are in environments where they don't have that type of energy. Some people live in environments where they just come to work and deal with whatever is waiting for them. One of the things I always challenge people to kind of consider and think about is this. Let's say there's two businesses that you could work for, right? Business A and Business B. Now, at Business A, all you need to know about them, all you do know about them is that they solve problems. And every day they come in 8 to 10 hours a day, and all they do is solve problems. They find problems and they solve them. So when they get to work every day and they open their email, they see hundreds of emails of problems. And their job is to weed through all of those things and solve those problems, and that's what they do 8 to 10 hours a day, every day. Now, at Business B, what they do is they take advantage of opportunities. That's what they do at Business B. And every day, 8 to 10 hours a day, they take advantage of opportunities. So when they come to work every day, they open up their email and they see hundreds of opportunities to make their situation better, to make an experience better, to make a process better. And every day, their job is to go through those opportunities, see which ones are the closest to them or the most realistic, and they take those opportunities and they take advantage of those opportunities to make their situation better. Now, without knowing anything else about job A or job B, by a show of hands, who wants to work at job A? By a show of hands, who wants to work at job B? Yeah. Because job A sounds like it sucks. Who wants to do that all day? Who wants to get up every day and play whack-a-mole with problems that you know will never run out? Anybody here ever run out of work? They say, hey, boss, man, I solved them all. There's nothing for me to do. I have nothing to do. And then get to keep that job. It's not a thing, folks. You see, just in how we start, our mentality, how we approach our work changes the way we feel about our work. If all you're doing is handling the problems versus taking advantage of opportunities, because if the job is good enough for you to show up today, what does it mean if you make it better? It's better. That's what you get to do every day. You get to take that thing, you get to advance it, you get to move it forward, you get to improve it, you get to make it better. That's what I do every day. Every day, I wake up in the morning, and I get to help make my community better. Does my community have problems? Sure. I'm not focused on those. I'm focused on the opportunities to make things better. I don't want my community to be built on the lowest common denominator by the people who don't participate, by the people who don't do things right. I want to put my energy and effort in making sure I protect the people who do, that provide opportunities for the people who would like to and want to better their lives. That's what I want to do with my day, and I get to walk through my day joyful. The power of wins is significant. It seems like a throwaway thing, and when we say this to people, what they're tempted to do is to think about what we just did right there as an icebreaker. It is not an icebreaker. It is an exercise. It is an exercise because you are developing muscle, and the muscle you are developing is the ability to identify wins. Because if you can't tell that you're winning, you're losing. And there's a lot of people with really good lives that can't tell that they're winning. It's a skill set that not everybody comes with. It's a muscle that has to be developed. You can't go into a gym and just bench 300 pounds. You have to bench something that's not as heavy till you can bench something that heavy. You have to build the muscle. Even though you may want to lift 300 pounds, you can't until you do the work, until you build the muscle. And that's what we're talking about, the muscle, the ability to identify wins, to be able to see what's happening to us and to be able to see how we're winning. Not only does winning create an environment that people want to be in, because if you've ever been in a loser energy before, you know that energy doesn't feel really good. But the other piece of it is that when we teach people wins, we teach them to identify the wins first, to pay attention, to see the significance, to take the size off of a win. When you first start winning, you'll see some people, they'll say, well, it's not a big win, but winning doesn't have size. Did you win or didn't you? It's a win. Sometimes people will say, well, it's not my win, but my child got into college. Hello? Who fed that rascal? You know what I mean? Who chased them around? Who did that? That is absolutely your win. Does it make you feel good? It's your win. Are you proud of it? It's your win. Does it bring joy to your heart? It's your win. Being able to identify wins is core to what it is that we're doing, particularly if you are a leader. Because if you want somebody to appreciate what you do for them, first thing you have to do is teach them how to appreciate. Dial it in. Teach people wins. This is something you should be doing meetings, at home, anywhere, talking about wins consistently, constantly. Get in the habit of it. Get feeling good about it. How many of you hang out with your friends and sometimes you don't want to tell them about something good that happened to you because you feel like it's going to sound like you bragging? How ridiculous is that? You can't share joy with the people who derive joy from seeing you win. Like in here, 99% of the time you were talking or listening about someone else's wins. Because it feels good to be about winning even when it's not you doing it. One of the core things we have to develop is our ability to identify wins. Bake that in. Now, the second piece of it is, and this is a core piece, and this is one of the ones that we see a lot, is that we have to be able to assess and analyze. Many times we don't think about how we convene people and why, right? We bring people together for a meeting and we say, what's your opinion? Right? And how many times have you asked somebody for their opinion or asked the room for their opinion? You heard crickets. Nobody gave you their opinion. But you know they all got one. And as soon as they leave this bad boy, they're going to share it with everybody except for someone who could do something about it. And a lot of times what ends up happening is that people will come into your office and they'll just drop off problems and walk off. They say, hey, boss, this sucks. If you could do something about that, appreciate it. Right? So we have to change that dynamic. And one of the ways we change that dynamic is teaching people to assess through analysis. How do you assess a situation and analyze a situation? Let's talk about it. Assessment, the evaluation or estimation of the nature, quality, or ability of someone or something. What's going on? What's happening? Where are our skills at? Where are our abilities at? Where are our opportunities at? Where can we grow? Where can we develop? Where can we teach? Where can we challenge? Where can we change? Analysis, the process of breaking a complex topic or substance into smaller parts in order to gain a better understanding of it. This is where we start to break away from the idea that things are good or bad, or they work or they don't, or I did it or I didn't. And we're able to break it down into its elements so we can determine the quality in which we did it. How did you do it? Yeah, you said that thing, but how did you say it? For the people out there, which one means more to you? What someone says to you or how they say it? How they say it. I'm a how they say it guy. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I said it, but how? This is where we want to be able to assess the situation and analyze. So when we bring our folks together, we're not asking for their opinion. We're not asking for their feelings. We're not asking for their criticism. In this particular instance, what we are asking for is their assessment, and an assessment that is based on analysis, something we can do something with. So when we ask people to convene, we want to teach them the skill of assessing a situation. What is actually going on? Analyzing that situation. What could improve it? What could change? What must we increase? What must we decrease? What do we think is propelling it forward? What do we think is holding it back? Now, what happens when you have a meeting that is actually useful? And people show up with assessments based on analysis, and you're able to take away actionable things that you can put into practice where a person has considered the time, energy, and effort you have available, the resources that you have available, the tools that you have available to actually be able to create a thing. What if when people brought you ideas or suggestions, they were informed? What if they actually considered the work that you would have to do and that someone in a different department had to do? What if they did some research for you and did some of the legwork and brought you an idea that was vetted to some degree? So now you didn't have to figure it out by yourself. That would likely be a better experience, which is why we have to teach people to assess and analyze. To assess and analyze. So here's what I want you to do. At your tables, I want you to talk about this. We're going to take a quick 3 minutes on it. But what I want you to talk about is how do your organization, or even in your personal life if you want to get into that, how do you talk now? Do people give you assessments? Do they analyze a situation and their circumstance? What is the language that we use now? How productive are those downloads now? When people give us information, what can we do with it after they give it to us? Can we just feel with them, or is it something that we can actually action? So at your tables, I want you to talk about how you're talking in your organizations now, and I'd like for you to try to get to one thing that you might be able to do. Somebody lofted up a suggestion that you might be able to do to increase the skill of assessing a situation based on analysis. So at your tables, and go. All right, let's go ahead and bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we're going to have our runners out there. Again, I just want to hear from a couple of you, but somebody be willing to get a hand up and let us know how you're talking to your organization right now, and what is one thing you think you might be able to do or your organization might be able to do to enhance your ability to assess and analyze situations. Let me see a hand. Right here. Okay, we got one right here. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Janine Michaelov with the Furniture Mission, proud LOT graduate, current author of my life. One thing that I do with my team is if somebody's coming to me with a problem, I ask them if they want comfort or solution. And based on their response, if they're asking if they want solution, we come up collectively with 3 solutions together, and I leave room for them to come up with 1 solution on their own. Then once they've had time to process that, we make a decision based on our company culture, what's going to be the best solution for the overall problem. And it has cleaned up the mess all on its own.
Yes, ma'am. Let's go. Very good. Let me get another one. We got somebody? Let me get one more. Anybody? You hiding from me? Okay. Listen, I got stuff going on. You know what I mean? There's lights all in my face. All right, here we go.
Hi, my name is Malia Grigsby. We had a very LOT-forward conversation about this. We were talking about, emotion driving the conversation. We talked about, the pre-work and everything, going into these kinds of meetings and confrontation and everything, making sure, especially if you're the one that calls for the meeting, making sure that you're in the right headspace to actually approach this conversation, be able to take yourself out of the equation, put yourself in the other person's shoes, understand how they might best receive the information. We also talked about setting clear expectations and boundaries well before the problem has a chance to emerge and evolve. That way, when you do have the conflicts come up, you can come back to the expectations and say, does this actually fit with what I asked of you well beforehand?
Yes, let's go. Very good, very good, very good. Okay. So a couple things in that. Number one is that you can tell in both of those scenarios, there's some preparation. There's some work you do before the work. We set it up. We create an environment where the behavior that we want actually has an opportunity to happen. We can want it to happen, but too many times we treat behavior like it's a switch. Do this, change that, and you just flip the switch, and it's like, all right, I'm done. That's not how it works. So we have to prime the pump, so to speak. We have to create the fertile soil in order for these things to be able to happen. So one of the things we want to make sure that we drive is assessment and analysis. But now what we're going to get into is where a lot of this stuff shakes out, which is ideation. And a lot of times people don't think about this as a true skill set, particularly an organizational skill set, but your ability to form ideas, the formation of ideas or concepts is paramount to your ability to be successful, and it is paramount for the ability for you to be able to get buy-in. Everybody says they want buy-in, but when most leaders say they want buy-in, what they mean is they want buy-it, meaning that I can come in front of you with whatever, and you'll have a good attitude and just buy it. We know that that's not what we want. What we want is buy-in, but buy-in suggests ownership. And ownership suggests participation, that you have to contribute something. You have to engage. You have to be part of the formation of ideas. That does not mean every single part of it, but at least to some degree. But how do we ideate? Now, what we like to do whenever we're getting to these situations, and we're going to get into this right now, and I'm going to give you kind of our rules of engagement and what the thought process is behind it, and then we'll spend a little time here or there getting into some of these situations to talk about how we can make these situations better. So I'm going to take you through our rules of engagement. So anytime we work with an organization, we start talking about ideation or forming ideas or visioning, we got to set some groundwork. We got to give people the idea of how we're going to move, okay? So let's talk about it a little bit. So first thing is this. Ideas go up, they don't go out. You see, when a lot of people have an idea, especially a good idea, and everybody's ideas are good ideas. When somebody has a good idea and they show up to a meeting, they come in and they're excited and they're prepared for them to give their idea to the leader or whoever. I have this idea of mine, and I'm willing to give it to you as long as you do it. And so people have this concept about ideas where we come and we deliver the idea and somebody's going to love the idea and then we're great. But what happens is when somebody wants to adjust the idea or when somebody wants to tweak the idea or when somebody wants to dismiss it altogether, we tend to take that personal because you just did that to my idea, which is the first thing is ideas go up, they don't go out, meaning that the idea goes up in the air, is not yours anymore. The idea doesn't belong to you because ideas don't have ownership. Activities have ownership, but ideas don't have ownership. I remember years ago, probably 20 years ago, sitting in a vehicle with one of my friends, and we were talking about a whole host of things, and I remember saying to myself, you know what would be cool? If you could watch TV, and they kind of recorded it as you were watching it, so you can rewind it, and then skip through commercials. Now, did I invent TiVo? No, I did not. I had an idea, but ideas don't have ownership. The person who did something with it, that person has ownership, okay? Ideas don't have ownership. Ideas go up, they don't go out. It's not me sending my idea to you for you to evaluate it and for me to feel some type of way. The idea goes up to the room. We get to twist it, turn it, pull it, pop it, whatever we want to do with it because it's not your idea. It is our idea. It is for the room, and the best idea wins. Now, in most cases, when it works well, we end up blending and molding ideas to create something that people can be bought into and are a best reflection of all of our skills, inputs, and knowledge. And that is generally what we are going for. So ideas go up, they do not go out. And this is a big one because this has been touched on a couple times. Now, Andrea earlier mentioned she's proud to be the I don't know person, right? And that's a big deal, right? That's really one of the first steps you got to take. Is to be comfortable with the idea that you don't know. Now, here's the thing, though. We know you don't know because no one really knows anything. One, because facts are temporary, right? Pluto was a planet, then it wasn't. The second thing is people get to determine how they feel about facts. Have you ever been on Twitter? You know, or X, whatever. How, are we doing that? Is that a thing we're doing? I don't know. But you know that people get to decide how they feel about facts. What we're focused on is not what you know. We're focused on what you think. You see, when a person gets stumped, when a person feels pressure on them, when a person feels like they have to produce something that's going to satisfy everybody in the room, that's going to be a perfect idea for forever, when somebody has to produce something or go deep into their feelings and reveal something about themselves that they feel uncomfortable, those people are likely to respond, I don't know. And if you keep asking that person, eventually what they might say to you is, I don't know what you want me to say, because they're trying to think about what you want them to say versus what they think. We're not interested in what you know. I want to know what you think. What are you thinking? No matter what the situation is, whether you have it figured out or whether you don't, whether you have all the answers or whether you don't, you're thinking something. And I want to know what it is because when you think out loud, not only can it inspire other thoughts, not only does it give us an opportunity to springboard off of something, but it may challenge our own thoughts, give us other ideas that we can shape and mold into something that is truly productive. So it is important that when we talk about the idea of ideas, that it's not what you know, it's what you think. Take the pressure, and really, I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of times it ends up being a cop-out. Take that out your brain. You don't have to know it all. No one's asking you to. We're asking what you think, to bring your active mind to help us address this situation, to bring your active mind to help us make this better. Don't just feel about the situation. Come with your active mind, and what do you think is happening? Why do you think you made that choice? Why do you think you responded that way? Why do you think they responded to you that way? Once we start the idea of creating thoughts and challenging those thoughts, we produce the best ideas available. This one is a big one for me. And this is what I would tell you for all of your meetings. If you are present, you participate. When I go talk to organizations, one of the first things I always try to do is tell people, somebody told you that you had to be here. I'm telling you that you don't. If you don't want to participate, if you don't want to engage, if you don't actually want to do the thing, leave. Help us elevate the energy because we got work to do. If you're present, participate. And this goes the other way too. Don't ask people to be present if they're not expected to participate. Don't have me show up to a room and want me to sit there so you can read me information. That is what we like to call an email. If I'm here, I suspect that my voice is necessary. If I'm here, I would like to think it's because you could use me. If I'm here, I would like to think it's because I have something to contribute. I have a perspective that you might be interested in. Do not ask people to show up if you don't want them to participate. And if you're not going to participate, don't show up. Don't come. But if you're in here, you're in here. We're figuring this out together. That's the habit we have to develop. That's what we have to get used to. If you're present, participate. And when we say participate, again, we don't mean solving it. We don't mean having all the answers or any of those other type of things. We mean offering up your ideas or asking questions with curiosity to try to understand what the situation is, to try to suss out other ideas and how people feel about things so we can get some commonality. So many times in organizations, we come to a meeting and the group in the meeting has anointed a person to speak. That person is the one with the courage to say what everyone else is thinking, except when that leader hears that thing, who did they hear? That person. They didn't hear all of you. They don't know that there's a consensus. They don't know that everybody agrees. They don't know that everybody's on the same page. One of the things that I want everybody to remember is that it's not your opinion until you give it. So sometimes if somebody else said what we wanted to say, we don't say anything, but we need confirmation. There's so many times where we'll be in a meeting and we will leave somebody straight hanging. We will leave them out to dry as that person takes the slings and arrows and musters up the courage to be able to say something that some of the rest of us feel as we sit quietly and we let that person go through that experience by themselves, which is almost going to guarantee that at some point that person tucks it in and then they get quiet. And now we're in a room where people are asking you for your opinions that you don't give, asking you for ideas that you don't have, asking you to participate in ways you have made it clear you're unwilling to. If you are present, participate. This is one of the things I am so passionate about because this is the quality of our lives, ladies and gentlemen. And when you show up to a place, and have the audacity to expect that it operate in the space that you want it to, and you not be willing to contribute to that process, you not be willing to educate that person or to teach that person or to help that person understand your perspective, how else could they possibly know? Sometimes when we sit quietly, we make ourselves believe that people are doing wrong by us when all they're doing is what they do. And we're not choosing to influence it. We're not choosing to engage with it. We're not choosing to encourage or educate on it. The one thing about expectations are you have to articulate them. Because if you don't communicate your expectations, what is the likelihood that somebody can meet them? Very, very, very low, right? No unstated expectations. Which leads us to this. This is the big one right here. Don't be a coward. Now, no one likes being called a coward. But what I want to make clear to you is this. You being a coward is not an insult. It's an assessment. The definition of courage is the ability to overcome fear, oft confused with the absence of fear. Not the case. You see, when you use courage, fear is present. It's something that you have to deal with. It's something that you have to overcome. It's something that you have to get through. And courage is what does that. That's the act of courage, is overcoming. Presumably because whatever you're overcoming it for is more important than the fear itself. Now, cowardice, conversely, is the inability to overcome that fear. And the quickest way for a person to get to their courage is to acknowledge their cowardice. So sometimes we got to be honest with ourselves when we don't say that thing that needs to be said, when we don't advocate for ourselves in the way that we need someone to advocate, when we don't stand up for that thing that needs standing up for, when we choose to tuck it in and let the situation remain, even though we know it's one that is untenable for us and the people around us, that is pure, unadulterated cowardice. It's understandable. It's also unacceptable. There is a part of your culture you can only access through courage. There's a part of your experience that only lies on the other side of courage. Some of you work for organizations that have an open door policy. But how much does that mean if you're too scared to knock on the door and say what you think? Some of you have places where people will take your ideas, they'll entertain them, and they may even do some of them. But how much does that matter if you don't give up your idea because you're afraid of sounding stupid? You may work in the place where people will gladly, openly allow you to emote and show true human emotions. But what does that mean if you're afraid to cry because you're going to look weak? There's a part of this experience you can only get to by way of courage. That's one of the things we don't think to teach people, is how to be courageous. We say things like, I empower you to do that thing. But that thing requires courage. Somebody can give you permission to do something. But if you're not fully confident in what it is that you're doing, if you don't feel locked in and skilled in terms of what it is that you're doing, what you need in that moment is courage, the ability to make that decision when you know the impacts can go beyond yourself. Otherwise, what we tend to do is leave it there till someone who knows what they're doing comes to do it. We have to teach courage. And the quickest way to get to your courage is to call out your cowardice. Don't be a coward. When you're in the room and you know you had things on the tip of your tongue, at the front of your brain, under your breath, and you let them lie there, it's cowardice. It's what it is. Acknowledge it, and we can move towards our courage. Because what happens when everybody shows up and they say the thing? With timing, tact, and delivery, responsibly, respectfully, compassionately. But we say the thing. How much time do you all spend in your organizations talking around the thing? A lot of time. A lot of time. So at your tables, here's what I want you to do. I want you to talk about where is an area in your life, work life, personal life, where you've been a coward. And what are you willing to do to be more courageous? Yeah, y'all got to work today. What y'all thought this was? Huh? Y'all thought y'all was just going to eat snacks all day? No. At your tables, I want you to talk about in your personal life or your professional life where you have been a coward. And what are you going to do to live more courageously? At your tables, go. All right, let's bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, runners, get ready. So let's hear it. I need a couple brave souls to share. Where have been some spaces where...
Okay.
Oh, wow, that was immediate.
Okay.
That was aggressive. I like it. Let's go.
Thanks, Morgan. My name is Niobe, and at our table there was a couple common themes of being a coward, of asking for help. We feel like we're the burden, or we can't trust that person to actually fulfill what they said that they could ask or like help with. And there's one other thing, not being a burden. And just not being able to count on the person. So asking for help is scary, and we just can't do it.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. A lot of times when the person needs help, I think we got one right there, and then we'll get one over here if we can start working towards that. What's interesting is that oftentimes, particularly when people need help, we only, there's one right there. Right, get your hand back up. Yep. One of the things that we think about is because we're the one that needs help, we generally are only considering our situation. But what we don't really think about is what happens when you don't consider the people who want to help you. You know, one of the things that is a great frustration to me is that I don't like when people don't give me an opportunity to be the person that I say that I am. When people say, I know you got a lot going on, I didn't think you would want to do anything like this. How dare you? Take away my agency. and my ability to do the things that are core to who I am and my character. To take my opportunity to be the person that I say that I am. Be thoughtful about the impacts, because what does it say about the relationship that you have with this person if you don't feel comfortable asking them for help, if you don't actually trust that they're going to come through and do what they said they're going to do? You're saying something about those people. So we want to be thoughtful about that. So that's one for sure. Let's go over here, and then we'll come back over here.
Hi, I'm Emma. I am currently a student at Lake Area, and one of the biggest times that I feel like I'm a coward is like at my internship/job, just sitting with people that have been in positions for a lot longer than I have, and just being able to speak up and give my opinion or give ideas. So I'm working on being more assertive towards that and just speaking my mind.
Absolutely. Yes, give it up. You know, first of all, all tenure isn't all good. Let's be clear about that piece of it, right? Because sometimes when you're a house cat, you ain't been out in the streets hunting for your food in a long time, you could lose some of your edge. And sometimes you need that new energy a little bit. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need, this is one of the things when people say that phrase that just makes my skin crawl. You know that phrase. This is the way we've always done it. And my response to that is, if this is the way you've always done it, then you've never done it better. How sad is that? Right? We should, listen, if you putting together the table, you putting together the table the same way they did 1,000 years ago, because that's the best way to put together a table. Some stuff is a classic, right? If it still works, it still works. But we should also test it, try it, see if there's opportunities for us to improve to make it better, because why wouldn't we? Let's go here. Oh, we got another one?
We have two.
Okay, all right, listen, you guys are the bosses. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Jen. So this really resonated with me because my leader often says he wants us to be empowered to do things. I want you to be empowered to make a decision, or I want you to be empowered to do this or that. But sometimes we don't feel supported in that. So then we start to feel like when our boss says, why weren't you empowered to do that? It's because we didn't feel like we had the courage to be able to do that because we weren't supported. And then it starts to turn into it's your fault. Like, I feel the blame that I wasn't empowered, like my boss is blaming me for not being empowered, when really it's just that we didn't feel like it was a safe environment or that we were supported, and I think that's when courage really needs to come through.
Absolutely. When we talk about that particular piece of it, there's always a couple elements that go into it when we talk about the idea of being empowered, and a lot of that is built through our confidence. But a lot of times we don't appreciate what actually creates confidence. Hey, you got to be more confident. You got to be more confident. You know what you need? You need some confidence. You know what I mean? Like, you could just hop on Amazon and buy a tube of confidence, right? That's not how it works. But there's a couple things, ingredients that lead to confidence. One is preparation. That's you. Second one is validation. Those are the people around you, your support system, and your leaders. And then the third one is results. So one you can really control a lot of, which is your preparation. The more prepared you are, the better you're going to feel, the more confident you're going to be in your situation. When you receive validation, people tell you that you're doing a good job, and that and specifically, I love that you're doing this, I love that you're doing that, so you can grow and develop and double down on certain behaviors. And then there is the results. When you do those things, when you put in the preparation, you get that validation, and you do the thing, and you know that the thing works, and you're the one that did it. Now we develop confidence. And this is the seeds of true empowerment. I could go to my team and be like, hey, guys, I empower you to do all of this stuff. Run the whole thing. But do they feel confident in that, especially when somebody else gets to evaluate how well they did it? The person who is a part of that evaluation is the person who has to communicate the validation so that those people help develop the confidence to be able to do that thing that you're asking them to do. Okay? Let's go here.
Hey, I'm Jason Freeman. So I had a great excuse for being a coward. I was born with birth injury, speech impediment, so I was like, no one wants to hear me, so I don't have to speak up. But at the end of the day, it was just an excuse. And that's my story. So now I'm trying to speak up more, like, to this room of amazing people.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's beautiful. All right. So, we got to come out here with some things. This is one of the things you're going to ask, and this is one of the things you're going to do. And next thing is that we have to leave with activities or commitments. We have to leave with activities or commitments. So the thing about this is, whenever we show up to a place and we exchange ideas and we talk about stuff and we give all the things, we have to leave with activities and commitments. You see, because number one, that's a core component to accountability. We talked earlier how you have to be able to state the expectation. No unstated expectations. That's one part of accountability. The second part of accountability is you have to gain agreements, meaning that you can't hold people accountable to what you think they should do. You can only hold people accountable to what they agree to. Because it's not about what you told them to do. It's about what they said they would do. It's about commitments. People are full-grown adults. They get to do whatever it is that they want to do. So what did they say they want to do? What did they say they were going to do? That's what we actually hold people accountable to. Because if you've ever been in a relationship with someone that's developed a comfort with not doing what they said they were going to do, what was that relationship like? Not great. We don't want to be in those. So what we want to do is we want to state expectations, have people agree to set expectations, and then we hold them accountable. That's what really accountability is. It's going to the ledger. We state the expectation. Someone gives us their agreement. So-and-so said they would do X. And now when we come back to it, we look at the ledger and we say, hey, here it says you do X. Turns out you did Y. Please account. That's accountability. It's about stating the expectation, gaining the agreement, and then going to the ledger. So this is the expectation that we have. If you show up to a thing, you got to participate. And if you participate, you had better leave with something that you can do and that you're committed to. When you walk through those doors, when you walk through those doors, the expectation is you have something that you're going to work on and that you are committed to it. So here's how we're going to wrap out this particular session, and we're going to get Tame rolling. What I want you to do is, at your tables, through the things that you have learned thus far, and Tammy is going to have a lot more for you, but with the things that you have learned thus far, what is an activity? Not, I'm going to work on my communication. What is that? What is the actual activity? I'm going to say hello to everybody in my office in the morning. I'm going to make sure to take a breath before I go talk to somebody. I'm going to make sure that I'm being thoughtful about how I end my conversation so people leave with good energy. What is the activity that you're actually going to participate in? And make that a real commitment. So at your tables, talk about the activity/commitment that you're going to take away and put into practice. And go. All right. Let's bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I don't know if there's a trend, but for whatever reason, when I'm in this building, there is a singular fly that is so committed to landing on my face with a regularity that is suspicious. Why is this fly coming for me like this? This room is huge. How does it keep landing on the same place on my face? All right. So here's the thing. You have your thing, as you should. And so now what I'm going to ask you to do is go to the ledger. So for folks that are brave enough, I'd like you to tag us in this situation. CultureCon 2023. What's your commitment? Put it out there in the world. Put it in the ledger. Let everybody see it. Be committed to it. It's always interesting to me that number one reason why people don't share their ideas on social media or whatever, they'll tell you is because, they're afraid somebody's going to steal it or something like that. Really, they're afraid that they're not going to do it. Okay? So, take your commitment, put it out in the world. Now, if you're not willing to put it out on social media so that the world can see it, then I need you to send it to somebody so that you could be accountable. Share the accountability. Because as we grow in our organizations, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you about this, I really don't care about any of your businesses. I care about the people that are in them, and I care about the people that they serve. That's what I care about. I care about this community. I care about being happy and having all the people around me happy, living the quality of lives that they want. We have an opportunity to do that. So these things that we're talking about are not work things. They're people things. They're communication things. They're community things. They're how you work through things, how you challenge things, how we superpower our skill sets. We are the lucky species that gets to think beyond our nature, that gets to go beyond our comfort zone, that gets to do more than just what comes programmed in us. We get to think through things. We get to do better than what the world was set. We get to evolve it. We get to improve it. We get to do those things. The question is, will we? And one of the things we want to remind people is that we just want to be a part of that piece of it. We don't want to be thought of as gurus or even thought leaders. We're thoughtful leaders. We're just people who think about this stuff. That's it. It's not about knowing all of the things. It's not about having all the answers. It's not being all figured out. We've done enough of these things, and we know enough to know that there's no one in here that has it figured out, that knows it all, that's doing it exactly the way they should be doing it. It's not a thing. It is all process. It is all journey. And that is the part you have to fall in love with. So we're not asking you to do anything mystical or magical. We're not asking you to do something that's impossible, because so much of it is possible if you put your brains to it, if you make commitments, and you keep coming back with the courage to say what's actually on your mind or on your heart and leaving with the conviction to do something about it. So we're not asking you to know. We're asking you to think. Appreciate you.